can, you can hide, but you'll never get away.
Drop it! Buster. What were you gonna do, huh?
Nothing. I was just playing around.
Well, we're playing now.
Saturday night, I went to see Maxxine, the third film in what has become the X trilogy from director Ty West. So, what did I think? It's 1985 and porn star Maxine Minx, played by Mia Goth, the sole survivor of the events shown in X, has just secured her first serious role in the horror sequel The Puritan 2. But, in a Los Angeles living in fear of the serial killer known as the Night Stalker, Maxine finds herself being hunted. You have to wonder, did Ty West originally ever intend this to be a trilogy? I don't know, but I will say this. So far, he's brought us one of the most interesting horror series of the last decade, both in terms of visuals and originality when it comes to storytelling. X was an incredibly seedy and, to be quite honest, grim tribute to the grindhouse cinema and filmmaking of the 70s, while still taking horror stereotypes we have seen 1,000 times before and turning them on their heads, such as the killer being the 80-year-old Pearl, played brilliantly by Mia Goth under makeup, and a final shot that changed everything the audience just witnessed. Then came Pearl, the prequel, telling the story of the elderly killer from X, and this was a revelation. Gone was the seedy reality of X. Instead, we had a tribute to the musicals of the 30s and 40s, filled with bright technicolor to counter the horror and corruption that is the story of Pearl. And again with a final shot that not only holds the screen, but will haunt you for hours after. That Goth was not recognised for her work shows the unfairness of the award system towards horror. So the question is, does Maxxine live up to the promise as the third part of the trilogy? Is it the Return of the Jedi of the series? Or is it just another Beverly Hills Cop 3?
Excuse me.
Hey!
That's not fair.
Maintenance, I gotta go grease the chain. Yeah, dry sound?
Sorry. Come on, let's go.
Well, the answer is sort of. The film opens with the Betty Davis quote, "In this business, until you're known as a monster, you're not a star." Well, that quote sets the tone for the entire film. Now, before I go any further, I'm just going to say this straight up. Mia Goth is the heart and soul of this picture, once again giving her all, especially with a barnstorming opening scene.
Asking why come here and do this?
Well, I've always had a larger vision for myself. Realistically, porn can only take me so far. I'm gonna be 33 years old pretty soon, and in hardcore elimination like bread, not wine. I'm not where I want to be yet. I want the good life.
And director Ty West has wisely decided to use this performance as the bedrock to this picture, around which he has built a supporting cast from Michelle Monaghan to Giancarlo Esposito, creating characters who you want to see in their own film. Hell, even Lily Collins is perfect. Although the standout supporting performance has to be Kevin Bacon as John Labatt, a slimy private detective sent to find Maxine. Bacon appears to be channeling the spirit of Jack Nicholson in Chinatown, down to the plaster across his busted nose. As with the previous films in the trilogy, the aesthetic is perfect. In Maxxine, the 80s are alive and well, with every shot, every frame, down to the apparent grain of the film used. But this is not the Los Angeles of reality. Although West permeates the film with memories, the fear of the killer known as the Night Stalker, the absurd moral satanic panic that targeted both horror movies and heavy metal. This is the Los Angeles of the movies, and in particular, the movies of the 80s. This is the Los Angeles of Cameron's Terminator and Friedkin's To Live and Die in LA. Almost resurrected the screen like Freddy Krueger. West is stating this is not reality. This is the movies, emphasizing the point by using the Universal backlot and in particular the house from Psycho 2. Unlike other films of the genre, however, Maxxine takes its time building up to the horror. Adding to the feeling, Maxxine is more akin to the psychological thrillers of the 80s. But when the horror does come, West shows the same panache and style he did in X and Pearl, once again creating incredibly inventive and, yes, gory kills. Yet perhaps the most memorable scene is the one with the least violence. West simply conjures up the terror and claustrophobia Maxxine feels when going in for a full head cast in makeup. Through editing and the sheer power of Gott's acting, every moment of fear drags. There is no blood, no gore required, and at the end of the scene, it is the power of Gott's performance that convinces you how drained, how beaten she is. One of the few times she actually looks helpless, a vast contrast to the rest of the film and the woman who asks of her character, why can't she save herself? So, I might hear you ask, it sounds good, what's the problem? Well, like so many films West is trying to imitate, Maxxine really can't stick the landing. Perhaps West was being too clever, too meta in his references, because Maxxine, like so many of those 80s films, feels empty. And unfortunately, it falls apart spectacularly during the final act. As I said, Maxxine felt for a long time more like a stylized 80s thriller, a piece of neo-noir, when suddenly our third act antagonist turns up, and although hinted at in X, the change in tone and story is so sudden, Maxxine begins to feel too much like the B-movies it's imitating.
The funeral is about to begin, sir.
Order.
With a ridiculous Miami Vice style shootout in the finale, Maxxine quickly begins to feel like a parody of itself. Add to that one of the most absolutely pointless fake endings of the last few years, and you realise it's being too clever for its own good. Now, I'm not saying Maxxine is bad, because it's not. It's well acted and directed, and it's most certainly never boring. But compared to what came before in the trilogy, it is a deeply, deeply flawed movie. It does entertain while you're watching, so I would recommend Maxxine and seeing it once. Because once you have, you will realise Maxxine ain't no Pearl.
Please, sir, I want some more. More? All right, stop it. Stop it right there. Go on, fill up the bowl.
And if you liked this episode of So What Did I Think and want to see more, please click like and subscribe. Remember, always subscribe. Thanks for watching.